In this episode, we discuss the importance of networking and community in Treasury, what has been the evolution of Treasury events over the past decades, what typically happens during a EuroFinance event, and what unique opportunities do these events offer to attendees, how are the topics for EuroFinance conferences chosen and updated each and every year to ensure they remain relevant and valuable, what are the things that nobody sees during events, but that Emma and her team still have to take care of, and of course, much, much more. Welcome to the Corporate Treasury 101 podcast. In today's episode, we indeed discuss the secret behind creating a worldwide treasury community with Emma West. Emma is a senior event management professional with 24 years of B2B experience and leads EuroFinance. EuroFinance, part of the Economist Group, is the top provider of global events on cash management, treasury, and risk. We've met Emma in person at the EuroFinance International Conference in Barcelona in September 2023, where she accepted to come on the Corporate Treasury 101 podcast. And what a pleasure it was to interview the leader behind the amazing success that EuroFinance is, especially over the last year. Whilst at EuroFinance, not only have we networked, met, discussed, brainstormed with amazing treasurers and actors in the space, we have also been able to attend thought-provoking panel discussions on the latest trends, topics, and challenges in corporate treasury. With more than 8 stages and 150 speakers, you can customize the agenda to fit your priorities. My personal favorite, the fintech space, where you can see new actors in the space explaining their solution and how they are disrupting the world of treasury. This year, we've partnered with EuroFinance to make it easier for everybody to attend the EuroFinance International Management Conference from October 2nd to October 4th in Copenhagen. And we even have a 10% discount code. Just type CT101/10, CT101/10 at checkout to unlock the discount at eurofinance.com/international. And with all that being said, please welcome Emma West. All right, Emma, let's start broad. Can you give us your view on the importance of networking and community building, and please, for treasurers, obviously?
Of course. Thank you, Guillaume, and thank you again for having me on your podcast and on your YouTube channel. I'm really looking forward to our discussion today, so thank you. And I love this question. What a question to start with. And it's one that we ask ourselves a lot, always, but certainly in recent years, kind of, post-COVID, to ensure that we're delivering, what is fit for the post-pandemic world. When we're talking about networking and community building, we are at EuroFinance and CPI, we are all about convening and connecting people and sharing expert information. However, I would like to answer this question by extending it to the importance of networking and community building in person. It could be instinctual to rely on, connecting online and meeting virtually in the digital age that we work in, but we believe that the real value lies in face-to-face interactions, and that's for a variety of reasons. So, we can, as humans, as people, we can truly listen without distractions when we're face-to-face. You tend to be more in depth in your discussion. You can pick up on body language and build rapport faster, which can hopefully develop into a deeper relationship when we think about, building networks and communities. And I think there can be more candor in person. So the discussions that people are having, specifically at professional events, as part of a network, can really help advise and influence your job, given the depth of knowledge sharing between each other. So whether it's at in-person events or training, you can also do that multiple times in one day. And if we were to do that online, it wouldn't take too long for our attention and energy to wane, as we kind of all saw over the pandemic. And we've also, given the appetite to return to in-person events or networking opportunities, we've seen that for our business, we've seen the in-person attendance increase about 20% year on year. And as part of that, you can really feel the energy and buzz in the room. It's absolutely electric. So people are really engaged and they're coming back to events ready to participate, both in terms of questions to speakers on stage and also during networking breaks with partners and peers. And as I'm sure we'll get to shortly, that's really important for treasurers because it brings that valuable connection between themselves, their peers and partners alike. And we want to encourage this. So as important as our content is on stage, we're actually looking to increase our networking breaks and social opportunities to support this value.
Emma, so many golden nuggets in that. So lots to unpack. First of all, I couldn't agree more with the kind of webinar fatigue that we've been seeing. So in the treasury space, but also in other industries, as we have the opportunity to see with our other podcast activities. I'm also curious to get your view on something that is very much linked to the in-person aspect of things, but that is not directly related to, knowledge sharing and peer networking and so on. But if I make the parallel to my former corporate job, where being in person, remote work versus at the office, right? Where you could just turn right or left and ask your question to a peer, or then just go to the coffee machine to have some informal moments, and not even talking about the drinks in the evenings. How do you see that aspect of networking, community, in-person events impacting maybe the fact that treasurers are maybe showing up much more to these in-person events versus the online ones?
Yes, that's okay. That's a great question. I mean, look, it comes back to the human condition, or what we're all motivated by, and I think we saw that post-pandemic. I mean, this is why I got into the events industry, the professional events industry, 20 years ago, because it was facilitating face-to-face events, facilitating human connection is really what makes us all tick, okay, and whether it is professionally or personally. And Treasury, and again, another reason why I love being part of this community and running a business that services that community with products, is that it's very niche, and that depth of knowledge sharing between treasurers is very important. And there's already a community there, but it's relatively niche. Even on a global scale, there's lots of connections, people know each other. We see people connecting at our events, or as part of our advisory boards or research programs, and they're still sharing and learning from each other. And that isn't on an ad hoc basis, and there's a lot of energy to that, and it's fantastic to see. You're not going to be able to replicate that in a scheduled meeting online, or or maybe a more formal setting. Our events have the opportunity to, yes, kind of sit in front of a main stage or within a stream and hear from the experts in a very formal way. But those networking opportunities, whether it's over a coffee break or over lunch or as part of the entertainment elements of our events, especially international, they just get to connect in a much deeper way, and that creates a support system that I think is so important for treasurers. As the Treasury role has continued to evolve, whether it is strategically or whether it is at the depth of their day-to-day role, I should imagine you feel supported and motivated and inspired by being able to meet and talk to people that do the same job as you. And it's also a load of fun. For the most part.
To say the words.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? Great people, very intelligent, curious, very warm-hearted and humorous people, delegates and speakers and partners alike. We get to connect with at our events and then get to connect with each other. It's a great community, and one we're really happy to help convene together. Yes.
Talking about fun, Emma, what's the funniest part of an event? So I've been at the EuroFinance event of Barcelona. What's your takeaway? What's your funniest moment
Yes,
at such an event? I mean, you guys have so many other events, right? But just so I can relate, because I've been to this one. What do you like the most, and where do you have the most fun in an event like this?
oh, well, the most fun for me is meeting and greeting people when they first turn up to collect their budgets in the morning, and I try to position myself at the events that I'm at the registration desk or at the general inquiries or the speaker desk. They're both to support the team, but also to be one of the first people that they see when they come through the door. Again, whether it's our our sponsors, our delegates, our VIP guests. I really love that interaction. That continues to be, after 20 years, one of the most enjoyable parts of events. We all like that. I've got a very, very sociable team. We all like a chat, and they have created incredible relationships with treasurers and banking partners and financial vendors over the years. So again, as much as the community connects on a very personal basis, the EuroFinance team do that as well, and that's great to see. The other element is, walking into that room at just before the first session. At the international, that tends to be that. Well, first of all, it's me on stage, so I apologise to everyone for that. I try and get off that stage and out of the way as quickly as possible, but it's important for me to thank everyone for being there. It's again a real highlight. But it's walking into that room as everyone has taken their seats and the lights go down, and our opening video, which year on year just becomes even more exciting and dynamic. When that starts, you get this rush, and you're really proud of what we are bringing to that audience and that community, and that's still a lot of fun. And then walking around the room, the exhibition floor, especially in the networking breaks, that buzz that you hear. And again, it's like I said earlier in our conversation, we have seen that increase since the return to in-person events. We were recently at our West Coast event, and the buzz and energy that was coming from the exhibition floor, and that's a much smaller scale event than say our international, but it was, you could really feel it, and it created a really great really great vibe in the room. Everyone was very happy, spent most of the 2 days being pretty happy, and that makes us happy. So these are all the fun parts. There are many more, but those I would say are my absolute highlights. And then of course you get to hear people talk about their experiences and who they've met and what worthwhile conversations they've had, whether it is knowledge sharing or doing business. It's they're really getting the value out of it, and we love that. As I say, it continues to be a highlight that never gets old.
100%. Another thing that intrigued me, and obviously because I have an interest here, there is a bit of an overlap, is the fact that you organize in-depth training sessions like the day before the events typically, or for the one I've seen for Barcelona and I think for a few others. Can you talk to me about why you're doing that, first of all, and the importance you see in, beyond knowledge sharing, like knowledge transmission, like literally training people as part of such an event where you would expect lots of senior treasurers, group treasurers show up, right? But you still do those in-depth sessions at the beginning of it. Why those trainings?
Thank you for bringing this up. This is a great question. I love talking about our training business. It's a very important part of our product portfolio. So the main reason that we run our training courses before our large scale events is twofold. Obviously, we want to ensure that the attendees, our treasurers, are getting as much value out of that week as possible, and as much depth as they will gain from our content on stage and in our streams, and between each other. The pre-conference training specifically really digs deeper into specialized areas, and this can really drill down into, say, effective cash forecasting, an advanced more in-depth look at FX risk management. We have a treasury management training for CFOs. These are topics that we can really drill down into in depth in that space of time that allows them to attend the training pre-conference and then attend the event as well. And that's particularly true of the international, given that, that captive audience. So you do that day or day and a half of training, and then you come to the event, and that's a really holistic, very comprehensive kind of way to gain as much information as you need in the space of a week about, some of the challenges you may be facing in your role, across many different threads of Treasury. So we're it's a very, very important part of the week and an important part of our product portfolio.
Makes a lot of sense. So has that always been the case? And by this, I mean, what has been the kind of evolution of international Treasury events over the past decades, right? You're doing this for a little bit about 20 years, I think you said, Emma. How have you seen...
Even longer than that.
Not the Treasury... Oh, really?
Yes. I've been doing it for 20 years. I've been in events for 20 years, but EuroFinance was actually incorporated back in 1992. It's incredible, absolutely incredible. I can't take the credit for a lot of that. I've been in this role for not just under 2 years. But no, the story of EuroFinance was best captured in our opening video in Barcelona. I don't know if you had the opportunity to see it. This is the sting that we used to kickstart the event on the main stage. And we did this retrospective look back at some of the world's most significant events since the start of EuroFinance back in 1992. And it was truly staggering. Everything from the formation of the EU, followed by a few years later of the introduction of the euro, Y2K, 9/11, the first tweet, the financial crisis, right through to the Paris Agreement, the US-China trade war, Brexit. I'm trying to pull kind of,
all the events, what happened over the last...
Oh my goodness. All of those things that happened, obviously COVID-19 and obviously the highest rate of, high rate of inflation that we're kind of still living through. All of that has happened since the inception of EuroFinance, and it's quite staggering that when it was first started, the original founders saw the need for a space specifically for Treasury professionals to gather and connect annually. This was, I think, purely in events. Given the change in role of the Corporate Treasury even back then, which has since continued to evolve. International Treasury Management Conference was born. And then in 2006, the company was acquired by the Economist Group and has benefited from that broader marketing machine and institutional support, while remaining largely an independent brand and remaining being able to maintain its focus to the Treasury community. We now proudly sit under Economist Impacts as part of the Economist Group, but the EuroFinance brand and its ethos still remains. And since then, we've added training, as we've discussed, awards, online events, and very proud at how we pivoted to online when needed during COVID, and news and reports. So all of those things have been added to the portfolio, and we continue to kind of look at how best to deploy our position within the industry, our insight, our convening power for both treasurers and our banking and financial vendors alike.
Right. I love that.
It's an incredible history, and that video kind of said it all. It took your breath away a bit, even.
Talk to me about why should treasurers come to such events? And by that, I mean, actually, let me be a bit the devil's advocate here. As maybe part of the younger generation of corporate treasurers, I might think, actually, we started this podcast because I couldn't find resources online for really neophytes and people beginning in the space. In the sense of user-friendly pieces of content, right? YouTube channel or a podcast, so to say. And I'm thinking, I might be thinking as a new entrant, like, yeah, okay, I can probably just learn through webinars and find some documentations over there and just find some videos, listen to Corporate Treasury 101, of course. What unique opportunities do these events provide that professionals might not find elsewhere or via other channels?
Well, I love that question specifically for those individuals coming up into their, or developing in their careers, in their treasury careers, because to that mind, the importance of being able to connect with peers, or peers and senior experts, like-minded individuals in the same profession, some of which have gone through or still within their professional journey, is really important. They will be able to hear that kind of broader macroeconomic or geopolitical framing, as our events kind of kick off, and then really drill down into topics and subjects that are relevant to their roles, that would impact their businesses. And and obviously we've recognized that as much as we can share knowledge from industry experts, senior experts, as much as we can curate, some of the most useful sessions that we have and we've seen recently is those sessions whereby they are facilitated by each other. So we facilitate roundtable discussions, and treasurers are very, very keen, corporate treasurers or treasury professionals throughout the vertical rows, very, very keen to share ideas and solutions with other treasurers specific to the treasury challenges that they are facing, and what activity they value the most. And that's why we're introducing what's called treasury circles. So these are an evolution of our roundtable sessions that many of your listeners may have seen kind of peppered through our programs over the last few years. And now we're hearing that yes, people are gaining fantastic insight from the panel discussions, from those senior treasury professionals, with that great moderation that we have. But a lot of what then they didn't know, but what they're learning on of that first-hand basis is from those roundtables and those networking opportunities. How to sharing a new way of solving a specific challenge. It can save a huge amount of time and money by doing that in this one place where those conversations are facilitated. And we're hearing a lot from treasurers that they're taking what they're learning from in those environments and putting the specific solution into practice, and how valuable for people attending these events for the first time.
Here we go. If you were thinking about joining the next EuroFinance, now you have a good
And also
to.
it's a lot of fun.
Most importantly,
Yes.
and I can vouch for that. Definitely vouch for that. Emma, when I hear EuroFinance, I hear Euro. What do I mean by that? You mentioned something about the West Coast. For anybody following the EuroFinance LinkedIn profile, we've seen some things around Africa popping up. So I'd like to understand, first of all, why and how did EuroFinance start? And how did you guys go from probably something that was Eurocentric, or at least that's my understanding, to that worldwide organization organizing those treasury events that are so important when it comes to networking and knowledge sharing, right? Throughout the whole world. What's the story behind it?
Well, I mean, I can't talk to the specifics of the name, plus your years
Right.
ago. It was largely Euro focused, and obviously our flagship event, the EuroFinance International Treasury Management event that takes place every single year, that moves around the different locations in Europe, and that sits at the heart of our ecosystem. So all of that is still relevant, but it did not take long for those tentacles, as it were, to extend and reach out globally, because the topics that we're talking about on stage and the connection of a global treasury community is important to do so at that international scale. So we continue to ensure that we are reaching, whether if we're not there in person events, then we are holding more kind of closed door senior Treasury events with our Global Treasury Leaders series. We are undertaking research. We are holding webinars that will reach everywhere from Shanghai to Sao Paulo and everything in between. So yes, it remains a focus for us to have that international reach and influence and convene people in as many markets as possible. The right markets. At the moment, we are potentially looking to expand. Obviously, the pandemic had an impact on where we physically visited, but our reach through our network and through our work, continues and will continue to grow.
Makes a lot of sense.
Sometimes it doesn't make sense.
No, but
you can't change that name with with 30 odd year legacy. But yeah, we do find ourselves explaining it sometimes. So.
Right. No, but that makes sense in the sense of, I was like, that's very funny. EuroFinance in Barcelona, that's the first time I heard about it. So I was like, makes sense. And I was like, wait a second, they're organizing big time events in the US as well. Oh, wait a second, there is EuroFinance Asia. Wait, and now Royston Da Costa, who is a very good friend of the podcast, is talking to us about this EuroFinance Africa thing and panel discussion. And we're like, well, that's not just Euro, isn't it? So it's interesting to see the genesis and how you indeed, something works well, so you kind of replicate it and enhance it through different regions and different organizations.
Because the topics are relevant. Yeah,
great.
Because the topics are relevant. And actually at the International this year in Copenhagen, our aim is to branch out further and hear voices from, hear more global diverse voices within Treasury to support knowledge sharing. Obviously, a lot of who we tend to see on stage can be corporate treasurers from multinational companies, largely cash-rich multinational companies, but we've recognised there are a real mix of companies and treasury types that remain relevant regardless of where they are or regardless of the investment grade or what have you. And so we want to see stages kind of covering all distinctions from all parts of the world.
And so I think we already hinted a bit about it, but what typically happens during a EuroFinance event? And by that, I mean, it seems that there is so much going on. What was which is a good thing, what was initially the main objective? Say, okay, we are organizing this event to serve X. But then, hey, wait a second, there is also lots of value in doing Y, and then let's add Z. So what's the whole scope of, let's take the flagship event, the EuroFinance International, last year in Barcelona, this year in Copenhagen, if I did my homework right. What's the plan, Emma? What is going to happen?
The plan. It's a very exciting plan. So, I mean, yes, you have some. What we try and do is, it's best described in terms of, content and convening. There are events out there where it can tend to be one or the other. You'd have a large exhibition space to facilitate those, business discussions and doing business. Or you could have just a focus on the content on stage, that knowledge sharing. However, the importance of all of our events, but especially in the international, is to ensure that we have that expert knowledge on stage in a curated program. As I say, both of the, kind of widen out and look at that broad, the macroeconomic and geopolitical influences, drilling down into real specifics, day-to-day specifics of the treasury and cash management role. And outside of those rooms, whether it's the main stage or those streams, ensuring that our partners, our large banking partners, right through to tech providers in our innovation hub, have the chance to connect with, with their treasury contacts and vice versa. So that experience on the exhibition floor is equally as important. And as an extension of that, the networking opportunities, whether during the main part of the 2-3 days, any kind of activations outside of usual hours. Again, it's facilitating that social side, the connection of the community. Those three things, those three pillars are very, very important. And it ensures that there is a clear value proposition for every attendee, everyone who steps into that space. They know that within that week, they can see a huge, get a huge amount of information, meet with a vast kind of array of people that are going to help them do their job better, to develop their role and the systems that they're using, etc. And we hear that that's exactly what it's doing, both from treasurers in terms of who they've connected with, how many meetings they've been able to have, and of course with our partners. And I think anecdotally, one sponsor said last year in Barcelona they managed to have 200 meetings, which was incredibly valuable for them, all in that one week. EuroFinance is, as I say, 2-3 days, not including the training days, and something like our events in Miami or on the West Coast, it's 2 days, again, of that value proposition, making the most of that time with the community in just a kind of more condensed period of time. But we aim to do all of those three things in a very very, very high standard, and that's what we bring, and that's our promise to the community, wherever you may sit.
Yeah. And that's something that I was actually, I don't know if flabbergasted is the term here, but like intrigued as well, because I was like, okay, you're a group treasurer. Well, you don't necessarily have to wait until a specific time of the year to call your bank and say, hey, I want a meeting. I see what I learned there is, well, first of all, group treasurers are busy. I wasn't learning it back then, but it's a fact. So you cannot always set appointments, meet everybody. Like the point of an event like this is you have the opportunity to see everybody in a short period of time. You can compare, you can benchmark, you can talk with peers. We just had a meeting with them as well. Hey, okay, so what is happening there, and so on and so forth. So the amount of value you get from having everybody consolidated in the same place at once is, well, invaluable. So what's the role of, I'm interested a bit about the business model, not of EuroFinance per se, but like events in general. What's the role of banks, system vendors, system providers? You mentioned the sponsor earlier. How does all gets pieced together when it comes to a treasury event like this?
Yeah, that's there's such a key part of what we do, right from our discovery phase as we're developing and devising, creating the content that you see on stage, and how we structure the events overall. That perspective from the banking partner, the service, the system provider, it is very, very key. We want to make sure that there's value for them in terms of what they want to share and who they want to connect with. So we have already mentioned about the efficiency of meeting lots of clients in a short space of time, but they're actually able to do business at the events. It's not just a meeting. This is all about renewing services or loan agreements, or these are actual tangible conversations. And of course, the fun part, the entertaining, meeting, prospecting new client, introducing to their, potential clients to their products on the floor. And that level of engagement, that level of client engagement is why they are here, why they're part of that ecosystem, and why it's important for them to be a part of it. And we hear from treasurers that is also valuable, because it is that efficiency of the event, giving them the opportunity to meet with their partners under one roof. These are very, very busy people with not much time or budget to go and meet clients in other ways. So yeah, it's that efficiency, I think, plays a real part.
How are the topics typically decided upon and defined for EuroFinance conferences? Like, how do you say, okay, we're going to talk about this, and how do you make sure you stay relevant? How do you make sure you don't enter into the clickbait neither? How does the machinery work when it comes to say, okay, that's what treasurers need or want to hear about? How does that all work?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. This is almost an art form, when an event business is run correctly. A big part of it is how you kind of research and curate and develop your programs. So the business is very lucky. I have a dedicated, diligent and very curious production team that regularly asks, what is important to you? What are your most pressing priorities? And what trends do you want to learn more about? And that is a continual cycle. So they hold really important relationships with some of the most senior and exciting treasurers and financial partners who dedicate their time not just once a year, but kind of multiple touch points throughout the year to help us research and develop the products and find those like commonalities to in terms of the responses to those questions. So what we're putting on stage or the discussions we're helping to facilitate really are the most pressing issues of the time. And some continue for years and others kind of, other trends come in and out. So it's not about just jumping on, as you mentioned, that kind of clickbait content. It's making sure it's really formulated and curated it in a smart way by having these conversations, and that can happen at the event ready for the next year. We do this year round. We have this year run into something like the International to ensure that those conversations can be had in person, and that feedback can then be kind of tested and developed in the following months before we're ready to launch. It evolves year on year. What we do, those discussions we have also feed into new opportunities that we consider. So we know when we launch a new product, it's because this is something important to that community, to the market, and then we have the confidence to bring that to the market accordingly. As long as we give ourselves the right lead time and we're also asking the right questions, we're confident that it is of value to the market.
What does it take for Emma West to say at the end of an event, guys, we nailed it? What's the success criteria of a good treasury event? Like, how do you judge on that? Because there is so much happening. Like, how and when can you say this event delivered on its expectations or even exceeded them?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a great question. There's quite a list of criteria actually.
All right, let's go for it.
I mean, I say to the team after events that first and foremost, our events, and I'll let you into a trade secret. So no one on the other side of the event experience, whether you're a sponsor or a delegate or a speaker, you're not meant to know what goes behind the scenes.
Ooh, tension is building.
Event professionals are, if you're a good event professional, you are a swan. So you are cool and calm and you glide along the surface and your legs are going like this underneath. And when that perception of an event is, smooth sailing, then that is a big tick. We want, our partners, our attendees. I'm sure they know, and a lot of them know my team very, very well, having had built relationships with them over many years now. They know how much work goes into it. I also have a very mighty but pretty lean team, so everyone works incredibly diligently. They're very, very hardworking, and that you could think, well, you would sense that, as a individual attending an event, but it doesn't. Everything runs incredibly smoothly. There's a lot of calm, there's a lot of planning, there's a lot of prep. It doesn't come easily, but these event professionals, they know what they're doing. They're very diligent in every element of what they're building, whether it's the event management, whether it's what you see on stage, whether it's the relationship with our partners, or whether it is the marketing campaign in the relationship with our delegates, from a customer services perspective, and the way it looks on stage from a design element. There's many man hours have gone into that. They know exactly how that all comes together and what they need to do to work collaboratively to deliver it. So if that has gone smoothly and we've done our jobs properly, what people are focused on is the conversations they've had, what they've learnt, and that they've had a bit of a I can't miss this experience, so that they're going to come back to the next event in the next year, or actually attend another event, or engage with a webinar or our Treasury report that we're about to launch. They want, that they can see the value. They want more, and that's really, really important. So that's a lot of boxes to tick, but the team managed to do that, and the business does tick those boxes continually. So, and we're excited to do that again with our regional events, and of course with Copenhagen as well. But if you're lucky enough to attend again, Guillaume, I'll be asking you if you can spot it, and if you can feel that things are running smoothly, and you can talk about some of the experiences that you've had, and then that will be a big box ticked.
I'd be more than happy, Emma, to share my testimonial on that. I want to stay behind the stage a little bit. What's the most unexpected thing that happened under your leadership at one of those events? And how did you walk around that? Like, are there stuff that happened, I don't know, gas, maybe not gas, water leaking, or a big speaker not showing up? Or like, what are the things that, as you said, we cannot see or we don't see as a delegate or even a sponsor, but that happens that you need to deal with during those events? And how do you deal with those kind of like emergency hat situation?
Very calmly. Calmly and collectively. That's the main thing. That's the main priority. Not all challenges that you will experience at an event will have a solution or an immediate solution. An example: last year we tried to have presence in the airport, the main international airport that everyone's coming into, and we do a pre-registration setup where people can register and take their delegate badges as they land, and it also gives that fantastic first impression. You're seeing someone from the EuroFinance team as you land and you come out into the arrival hall, and last year we weren't able to have access to the hall that we were promised we could set up in, so all of these flights are landing and there was no EuroFinance staff to greet everyone, and to really help facilitate a large wave of registrations, which takes the pressure off of the main registration desk in the main venue. And that took a bit of scrabbling and some, like chess pieces, some movement around the board to ensure that staff could jump in a cab and go help the team kind of in another part of the hotel, liaise with the individuals on staff at the airport, and we eventually got in there and we kind of mitigated it. But again, we made sure that anyone landing expecting to see us knew what had happened. We solved it really, really quickly with that kind of, creative thinking, critical thinking, creative solutions. That approach is really important, and it takes a lot of teamwork and collaboration. So I think we took some staff that were due to be on hand at the training registration, and myself and a colleague stepped in. So yeah, there's plenty of people on site to jump into those, to solve those challenges. They're not problems, they're just challenges that we overcome, and we overcome them as quickly as we possibly can without letting people see. So I've drawn the curtain back now, and you've seen behind the curtain. I should that immediate, I want that air of calm and that impression that people have that things are running well all the time to remain. But of course, some things happen, and I've got a whole host of stories out, beyond my EuroFinance experiences, my EuroFinance history that I can talk to, but that's probably for another time.
It sounds much more stressful than running a podcast. I can tell you that.
Well, there was a report. Was it post-pandemic or pre-pandemic? There was I don't know who to cite. I'd have to find it and forward it to you. But there was a poll undertaken in the US, I think, a few years ago, and an event manager was listed as the second most stressful job after a firefighter.
That's probably my last question then. Why are you doing this, Emma? What's the motivation, and where do you want to take EuroFinance obviously, but also the treasury space with that? What's the why behind it of Emma West?
Oh, wow, what a question to end on. Might be a long answer. So I mean, look, that ethos of why EuroFinance was started all of those years ago, that's something that I respect and that I have kind of picked up the baton of and want to continue on with, along with my fantastic team. From our growth statistics this past year, the future of our business and the convening power of Treasury Events is very, very bright. Never has it been more important and valuable to connect with peers and partners in person on a regular basis, to share those ideas and to socialize. And we have this role, this place within the community. We were set up to convene senior Treasury audience, and that's where we also kind of play. One of the USPs of our business, and specifically the international, is that we convene a senior Treasury audience in that structure that obviously I've already spoken to. And our aim is to continue to help the global treasury and cash management community meet in that way, and to get that value from our events. The exciting thing is that because we have such a strong foundation within the market, we have a strong foundation of our business, we now have the opportunity, now that we've really settled back down after COVID, is to look at some of our lapse products. Treasury report we're looking to reinstate. We're currently working on that at the moment. We had a fantastic response to our awards last year that we want to develop. Our training business continues to go from strength to strength. We've spoken about pre-conference training today, but there's also a real appetite for in-house training, both from a banking and a corporate perspective. We have our boot camps that run both in summer and winter, and again, another opportunity for treasurers to come together to learn, not just from us and our tutors, but from each other. We it was fantastic to see our Future Focus stage at last year's International, covering many kind of forward-looking topics, but none more so than AI. And that approach to AI is now kind of peppered through all of our programs. And it's exciting to be at the forefront of, not just those kind of topics that we've covered, and I know you cover extensively on your podcast, like cash forecasting and risk management, etc. But obviously, digital transformation continues to be impactful to treasurers and treasury verticals, and we want to kind of help to bring those topics to the forefront of people's mind, giving them the solutions that again they can take back to their organizations. And we also had a great response to our Rising Star Award. So one of the products that we want to develop is something that really engages the next generation of treasury, and all of those things allow us to work with our partners and our contributors year round. So it's and that's what spurs me on. That's what motivates me. It's being able to be part of this fantastic industry and have a place in it that has value for people.
Emma, I think that was an absolute masterpiece on Treasury Events. the story of EuroFinance, networking and knowledge sharing within the treasury industry. If people would like to know more about you or EuroFinance, where should they go?
So you can go to eurofinance.com. So there's our range of products and events that people can find out about. There's various links, whether you want to sponsor or speak or attend. You can do all of those things through the website, or you can find us on LinkedIn. Or if you would like, a more kind of personal contact, then I can be reached at emmawest@economist.com. Still have my Economist email address, and I'd be happy to connect with anyone interested to engage with us, and or pass you on to one of my incredible team, depending on how you want to work with us. And I would give that final mention to that fantastic team behind me, those lean but mighty individuals I mentioned before. They're some great people to connect with, so I would be more than happy to put you in touch with the relevant departments, as well as hear from you directly myself.
Amazing. And for finding you in person, well, maybe not Emma in particular, but EuroFinance, and you'll obviously be at the international one in Copenhagen on October 2nd.
That's right.
Until 4th.
Yes, and we look forward to seeing as many of your listeners and your contributors there as possible, and yourself as well, Guillaume. Be great to have you back, and thank you so much for
be my pleasure.
This time. It's been great to talk about a business that means a great deal to many. So I really appreciate it.
Emma, thank you so much.
Thank you.